Hello, this is Required Fields. I'm making a video for some death metal bands that I feel deserve more recognition in genre than they receive. I'm going to start off with a band called Atrocity. This is their 1990 album, Hallucinations. It is the first concept album in the death metal genre. It actually tells the story of a girl who was sexually molested at a very young age by her father, and she eventually becomes a drug addict and dies at the end of the album storyline. It's an excellent album. You can hear where bands like Gorguts got inspiration from. One of the best death metal bands of all time. And their 1992 album To Death and Sucked, also known as Longing for Death, although the album, the version of the album I own is called To Death and Sucked, which the band claims is the proper title of the album. They did not like the fact that the album was retitled Longing for Death in the States. That album is good too, but Hallucinations is better. Disciples of Power. Ominous Prophecy is their second album from 1992. Their first album, Power Trap, had a bit more of a thrashier feel to it, but did have elements of what they would be known for having. This band is criminally underrated, and I could compare it to groups like Death and Pestilence, but it's a lot darker in nature than either of those two bands are. And their album Invincible Enemy is really good too. If you haven't heard that, I recommend checking it out too. Unbidden, Slaughtering the Vile. This is their 2010 debut album. This band is a band that's from where I'm from. Well, that's where they were from. They're from where I'm from in Cape Breton initially, although they are now living in Halifax. But the album is excellent. As for what style of death metal it is, I think it would vary depending on what person you ask. Although we would all agree that it's death metal to some degree, death metal of some form. And the band members are very nice guys in person too, and I got thanks in the album booklet. Thank you guys. And as for what band I would compare them to, I guess Suffocation would be a good comparison. They aren't exactly what we call a clone or a rip-off of Suffocation, although you can definitely hear a massive amount of influence from them. And now I'm going to bring up Monstrosity. This is their 1996 album, Millennium. Their first two albums are two of the best albums in the entire genre. Imperial Doom from 1992. That album is currently out of print, although I believe it should still be in print. Hopefully it'll get reissued very soon. And Millennium is a great album though too. It has some great songs on it like Fatal Millennium, Devious Instinct, and Dream Messiah. I do like the first album, Imperial Doom, a bit more. Hopefully that album gets reissued because it's going for very high amounts of money on eBay these days. This is a band called Stygian Sky. They are not pure death metal per se, like they have a lot of progressive and more melodic elements, but it's still a very good band nonetheless. And it's still death metal to me, and it's a great demo, but there's only 4 songs on it. And the production for a demo is very good, and I'd recommend this to fans of groups like Death and Martyr. Those would be the bands I would compare it to stylistically. And Obscura. This is their 2011 album, Oblivion. It's the album that turned me on to the band and made me a fan of the group. I had not heard of their music, but I had heard about them and heard really good things about them by word of mouth. And then in 2011, one day I was at HMV. I was looking for albums, and I saw a copy of Omnivium there, and I picked it up for $13.99 because of the price and what I'd heard about the band. And I gotta say, it's a great album. The album is very technical and very progressive death metal, although there's also some cleaner vocal sections on there as well. But the album is a great album overall. I'd recommend anybody who likes death metal and progressive technical metal overall. This is a band called Morgoth. The album is Cursed from 1991. The album is, I'd I'd say, more in the vein of groups like Death, Circa Leprosy, and Obituary on albums like Cause of Death. That's what I would compare it to stylistically. The another band I'd like to mention is Mortis Skuld, who have an album called Dying Remains that is quite good in style. I don't own a copy of it, but hopefully someday I will. And I'd also like to say that the band Stygian Sky, who I mentioned earlier, the original member, the original vocalist for Unbidden, Matt Canova, he did not perform on Slaughtering the Vile, but he was in the band before then. Actually is in a band called Mortality Works, the members of Stygian Sky nowadays. I just want to get the word out some of those bands that some of you might not be familiar with, and if you're not familiar with them, I'd recommend checking them out. And to my brothers and sisters who are watching, stay strong and stay metal, and thank you very much for watching this video. Goodbye.